Welcome to Transitions. I'm your host, Antoinette Zloty. Today our topic is housing, and for many of you, you have gone through a number of different housing situations, but there's nothing like what some of us have gone through, and I can even speak for myself too, and I can say that Jolene, your housing story is very interesting and very informative, and we'll hear from you first. Then Corey Jacks will join me and introduce a video that we shot out on location, where he took a look at a house and look at some highlights. As well, Kirsten Burness is going to speak with us. She is the Director of Housing with the West Central Women's Resource Center. So first of all, Jolene, I want to welcome you to Transitions. Can you share with us your story, your housing story?
My housing story is very long, and it continues. I'm having to move right now, and I'm very nervous about that.
You are.
Currently, the home I live in now has been my home for the last 3 years. Prior to that, I was 15 years homeless. So having to move is proving to be a little stressful.
Yeah.
Housing market is crazy high as far as costs are concerned. Although I'm working and have many blessings in my life, I still find it a struggle to learn how to have a home and how to keep my home and how not to worry about it so much as I do. I worry a lot.
You worry about it.
Yeah.
So you are a single parent, or are you in a relationship?
No, I am a single person. I live currently with my son, who just came home to me. But I've, for the most part, been a single person.
Living on your own.
Yep.
And I was trying to count up the number of times that I moved, and when I look at the fact that I was an immigrant to Canada, or I am an immigrant to Canada, going on 49 years now as an immigrant, and also the fact that I was a student. But you were telling me that you topped my number. I counted 15 times that I've moved, although the last time was longer. You said that you've moved a lot more than that.
Yeah, well, I recently did, I was recently involved in a thing pertaining to homelessness, and had to look at the various places and homes and places that I've called home over the years. So when somebody says to me, where have you lived over the years, or where are the places you've called home, that means so many things. Like I've called a tent home, I've called a stairwell home, I've called a tree home. So when I had to break it all down, I lived in 67 different homes since I was 8 years old.
My goodness, that must have been really, and I think that, Jolene, you probably have a lot to share with respect to all of those experiences. Which one would you say was the most challenging of all of the transitions to different housing for you?
Overcoming addiction was really, really hard. Overcoming it enough to advocate for myself, or to even just hold a conversation where another person would think I knew what I was actually talking about. You know, sometimes that's really, really hard. You get really caught up in other things when you don't have anything yourself. So it makes it really hard to make, I don't want to say the best choice, because often the wrong choice is the best choice when you're homeless. You know, it's not always the choice that everybody would make if they had the option of going home at the end of the day. So
So when you were facing that challenge, like who were the main supports for you, like on the addiction challenge and,
Well,
and home, finding a home at that point? Who helped you?
Well, the addiction challenge, well, that essentially was up to me. That was my choice. When you're addicted, you need to make that choice for yourself and grow to love yourself enough to do that hard work, because it's very hard work. But in terms of supports and help, West Central Women's Resource Center has been profound in supporting me to get to where I am at the moment.
And just before we cut to a break, tell me about your job. You're working for West Central, I think?
So I am now the community connector at West Central Women's Resource Center, which kind of means a few different things, but essentially means working with the community and helping to connect with resources, because I'm very resourceful. But yeah, so essentially I took a program called We Will, empowering women into leadership, which gave me the confidence and helped me turn my sad story into a successful, positive story. And they saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself, and gave me opportunities and opened doors for me, and have continued to be a surmountable support for me. So.
And I'm very pleased to meet you, and it's transitions that's brought us together.
Yes.
And I hoped that you will stick around after the break. I will speak with a couple more people, as I said, and then we'll all get back together to reflect and talk a little bit about the future.
Awesome.
So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Transitions. I have with me Corey Jacques, and he's here with me to talk a little bit about the home inspections and your role as a home inspector. Could you share with us about that, Corey?
Yeah, so mainly we help buyers get a better informed decision on when they're purchasing a home. It is going to be one of their biggest purchases of their lives, so we like to just basically point out the conditions of the home, just so that they can make their educated decision and really not fall into any major repairs down the line or foundation issues.
So we took a little look at Neil and Elizabeth's place. They were kind enough to let us go and take a look around. You pointed out some areas that you normally do as part of an inspection.
Yeah.
Do you feel that home inspections is something that really is important for in the public as well as the private sphere? Like you've done mostly private.
Mostly for the private sector, yes.
Sector, yeah.
It could be beneficial to pretty much anyone. Just basically
yeah.
pointing out the condition of the homes. Sometimes there could be air quality issues, so mold in the home, which as a renter you would definitely not want either. So that would be something as a home inspector we could do a test to find out if there's mold situations there, and then get those remedied for the clients, and then as well on the private sector as well, just your general home inspection. We can do air quality tests there as well, radon testing, just a multitude of things that we could help them all with.
So right now what we'll do is we'll cut to the video of the walkthrough that we did with Neil, and then we'll be back with everyone who has been here on the show, and we'll chat a little bit about what the future might hold in terms of housing. So
Perfect.
Thanks, Corey.
Thank you.
And we'll see you back just in a few minutes. So stay with us, folks. And here we are at Neil's home, Neil and Elizabeth. And I really am very pleased that they allowed us to come and take a look. But Corey, can you tell me a little bit about what would be the highlights of a home inspection?
Yes, so this here is a 100-year-old home in River Heights. Basically, I start my inspections on the outside, so we'll go take a look on the outside. And this is where I just walk around the perimeter of the home. I'm just checking for any cracks in the foundation, cracks in your siding, loose or missing stucco. Over at the foundation there, I can just notice a gap between the stucco and the foundation. Just with a window that low to the grade, we just recommend a window well be in there just to prevent any water from going through and doing damage to the basement.
Stucco looks pretty good.
Stucco is good, yes, no cracking in it. It's all been finished nicely. The windows all look nicely sealed around. It's coming into the backyard here. I see there's a deck attached to the home. I just want to check underneath the deck to see how the supports are, how it's tied into the home. Everything looks to be proper here. All the supports are straight, plumb, not leaning, no rotten floor joists. All these windows appear to be newer. They're a single hung window that appears to be a double pane, possibly a triple pane.
Oh, that's
It appears
good.
to be a double pane, so not the
Again?
original windows, which is a nice upgrade on this home.
Well, the double and triple definitely needed in our climate,
Definitely
eh?
needed here in Manitoba,
Yeah.
yes. Now that we're on the inside of the home, we're here with the homeowner, Neil. We're in his beautiful kitchen that's been very nicely renovated.
Yeah, it was like this when I moved in.
So basically, when I get to a kitchen, I like to test all the appliances that I can. So we'll start here with the stove top. Just make sure all the elements go on. Test the hood fan. I like to make sure it vents outside, it's not recirculating, so I'll check in here. Stove all works. From here I see I've got a plug, so I would just check that to make sure you've got grounded wiring. Everything is grounded. Now I'll check the dishwasher here to make sure everything works. Move over to the sink, run some more plumbing in here, just make sure there's no plumbing leaks underneath. I'll check all the drain pipes. Check the venting. They've added a air admittance valve, which is perfectly acceptable. Put my hands on all the drain pipes, make sure there is no pipes leaking. Everything appears to be good, no wet spots. All good there. We'll go into the mechanical room where you can see pretty much the majority of the foundation in this home. This is an older home with a stone foundation, so I just want to check for cracking in the foundation. There's been some repairs down there. All the mortar in this room looks pretty good. Check the floor joists, check the decking.
Are you concerned about the wiring?
The wiring for this home has all been upgraded. This home originally would have had knob and tube. I'm seeing that they've removed all of it that I can see here. It's all a newer Romex style wiring, which is 2-prong or 3-wire grounded wiring. So the last thing I like to check on a home is I like to go up into the attic. This attic here, it has been sealed shut, so unfortunately we won't be able to get up to it today. What I would generally recommend to my buyer is that since they don't own the home yet, we're not permitted to go up into it. But upon possession, I would recommend they can give me a call back. When I'm free, I would stop by, we would take the screws out, get into the attic however we would need to, and just check out the insulation up in there, check out for any kind of leaks. Just so it would be good for the homeowner for energy efficiency, just maintenance of their home.
Welcome back to Transitions. I have another guest with me on this topic of housing, and her name is Kirsten Burness, and she is going to share with us her role at the West Central Women's Resource Center.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm the Director of Housing at the West Central Women's Resource Center. We offer a number of programs at the Women's Center, and housing is one of them. It's a big priority for women who access the center, securing good, safe, affordable housing and income security. So we have two programs related to housing. One is a Housing First program, which takes the approach of housing being a basic right, that we don't apply conditions on people before they're able to access housing if they're dealing with addictions or have mental health issues. The idea is we house them first, we work with them to find housing first, and then we work with them to access the supports that they need, because when you're housed, you're in a much better position to access those supports and make the most of them. So we've been running that program for a couple of years. We have two main staff in there that work with up to 17 participants at a time, looking for places to live, supporting them with paying rent, paying their security deposits, and then working with them to stabilize their tenancy, right? So they can keep their housing once they're in there. And for women who are experiencing homelessness or housing insecurity who are not eligible for that particular program, we have a separate program called a Homes program that we've had since the early 2000s. So for many years, we've been doing that work around finding housing and accessing income security for women in West Central neighborhood.
So have you found that over the last few years there's been more and more emphasis on finding housing for people who are having some difficulty on doing it on their own, or has there been an increase in sort of like real grassroots kind of service delivery, or do you think that there's a need for more of that?
Well, housing has long been a priority in the community that we operate in, for sure, but it's really like a foundational piece for people who are experiencing low income, right? Yeah. For them to be able to secure their housing, stable housing, to be able to take other steps in their lives to move forward, right? And lift themselves out of poverty. So I would say that's been a key issue for many years. Yeah. And you know, I do think that some progress has been made. If you look at data in Manitoba around core housing need, which is a reflection of people's ability to afford the housing that's out there and live in good quality housing, we have seen that data improve over time here in Winnipeg, but the demand is still incredible, and you know, there's certainly not enough resources in our center even to keep up with the number of women that we have coming in looking for support. So yeah, we could definitely use more staff in our housing programs and would be better meeting the needs of the women who come to see us.
So what about work with kids at a younger age? Do you do any sort of intervention to try to reach some of the girls before they actually end up getting into the system in that way, like while they're still at home, or is home a result of why they do get into situations where they can become homeless? Like, I just wonder how much is being done with the early kids in, say, senior high school or junior high.
I mean, we don't work a ton with youth directly, so you know, we're supporting young women through working with their moms, right? So we do have a little bit of family program that we offer, but by supporting parents, you know, that's the approach that we're taking to support youth. There are other specifically youth-related services in the area, because a big problem that youth face around housing is with youth who are exiting the care of child and family services, right? So often that is a pathway into homelessness for young young people in general, right? So, you have a certain level of support while you're in care, but when you exit, you lose a lot of that, and you haven't necessarily developed the skills that you need to go and do a housing search or navigate the employment and income assistance program to get the income you need to pay for rent. So, we do have supports that work specifically with youth around that, but again, we don't have enough to meet the need that's out there.
Yeah. I'm very interested in that topic of kids exiting care because there have been some talks about maybe extending the age beyond 18. But what we'll do is we'll come back together. Maybe I'll get everybody together and we'll have a further chat about where things were, and sounds like where things were was not as good as where things are. It seems like we're on a little bit of a step upward to progress, but still a long ways to go. So what we'll do now is just take a little break, and we'll come right back with all of us to have a group chat. So stay with me, and yeah, we'll be right back, folks. Thank you for joining us again on Transitions. And I have all my guests here with me who are going to talk a little bit. We'll have a little group chat about housing and where they see housing going in the future. So I'll start with Corey. Corey, can you maybe tell us what you think?
So what I would like to see for the future would just be that home inspections become a mandatory regulation, just to ensure that everyone in their real estate transaction is getting a good quality home, that no hidden flaws. That's pretty much what I would like to see.
That's very good, very good. Thank you. And what about yourself?
Well, for the work that we do at the Women's Center, I think the supports that we provide directly to women and with women are very important, but there's a lot that we can do as a society and a lot that we could call on our governments to be doing to really make an impact in the situation. So part of my work at the Women's Center is to chair the Provincial Right to Housing Coalition. So it's a number of organizations and individuals that are really wanting to see our different levels of government invest in more social housing, where we have housing that's geared to people's incomes so that it's certain to be affordable for them. So we want to see them building more of those kinds of units because it's not being provided by the private sector, and we don't expect the private sector to do that. And we want to see the stock of social housing that we do have preserved. So we know our current government is looking at selling off some of our public housing, and that's a huge concern to us in the coalition and at the Women's Center. So we will be, calling on our government to hold on to the stock that we have, at least, right? Given that we don't have enough to meet the needs. And then the other piece of it is providing income supports for people to be able to rent what's available in the private market, because it is too expensive for very low income people.
Yes, thank you. Those are really good pieces of work that's going on, and I hope that everything works out for the betterment of everyone, especially the people who need the housing. That's interesting work that you're doing. And how about yourself, Jolene?
Well, I hope that there's better access to knowing your rights. It's really, really important to know what your rights are when it comes to the child welfare system, the welfare system, when it comes to residential tenancy branch, dealing with landlords, what your responsibilities are as a tenant is really, really important. And then above all, again, and I can say this 1,000 times, do good things and good things will happen. It's sort of the law of the universe as far as I'm concerned. Educate yourself. Go out and seek that knowledge. There's lots of knowledge online. Again, we hold a lot of that knowledge at West Central Women's Resource Center. Stop by. We'll be happy to share that information with you. Any questions. If I don't know the answer, I'm sure Kirsten will know, or one of our many other wonderful, wonderful women that we work with. They'll know the answer to, or we'll find it, because we're pretty resourceful in that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, educating yourself. I'm not talking about academia. I'm talking about the real world. Education is key.
It's key.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. That's really, really very good. I agree with all of you. I mean, I think that there's a lot of value in all of you had to say, and I would just stand behind you 100%. And I hope that if there happens to be any selling off, that those units are replaced with brand new, accessible and habitable living quarters for individuals who need them, because I think the rent guarantee income is really important. Very important for women, because we know that women are less economically secure, and we really need to make sure that we don't lose the number of units. So it'll be interesting to see what unfolds in terms of the plan to replace those units if they are sold into the private sector. And the other thing is like location too, I guess certainly location is really important, because you got to be close to universities, got to be educated, or close to community colleges and so on. So it's really, really important. So I really appreciate the fact that you guys have come in and spent your time here, at Shaw. Please, let's get together again and have a talk further on housing. We'll see what unfolds here in our province, but let's just hope it's for the better. So thanks for joining me here on Transitions. And folks, please go on our website. We've posted a number of websites for you and numbers, so follow up, and we really look forward to seeing you again.